We've got an update now for you on the Post Office Horizon scandal. The Business and Trade Committee has this morning published a report offering recommendations to the UK government to enable full compensation to sub-postmasters who were wrongly convicted of false accounting. The report recommends ending the Post Office's involvement in any redress programmes, labelling it as not fit for purpose to administer any of the schemes required to make amends. The chairman of the committee, Liam Byrne, called it a national disgrace that only £1 in every £5 of the budget for compensation has been issued to sub-postmasters. Let's speak now to Timothy Brentnell, one of the former sub-postmasters involved in this scandal, ran the post office. Where were you? In Pembrokeshire, weren't you, Timothy?
Yeah, in Roach in Pembrokeshire.
I just wonder how you feel this morning. It took 16 years, didn't it, to clear your name of convictions. Seeing this report this morning, and you have seen it, how are you feeling?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was at the committee last week and was hoping for a result like this, because my conviction was quashed in 2021, and then I was told by my legal team we had to actually go back cap in hand to the post office to ask for well, the government like to call it compensation, but it's redress, really. It's the money that the post office took from me back in 2010 and what they've subsequently cost me. You know, that they prosecuted me, they benefited from it, and yet we had to negotiate and deal with them on their terms to get any kind of redress.
I just want to read that line out to you again. This report saying the Post Office's involvement in any redress programme needs to end. It says it's not fit for purpose to administer any of the schemes required to make amends. Is that reassuring for you?
Well, if the government follow these recommendations, and as long as it doesn't increase the timescales, because I've had to spend, and anyone else in my position has had to spend the last 3 years building our claim, because the post office have insisted that we evidence and justify every penny that we're claiming for. There's no generosity or goodwill in the scheme that they've been running. But I'm a relatively young man. Many people were much older than me, and time may be much shorter for them. So as long as it doesn't extend the time that it's going to take, that's crucial. People really need to have this redress so they can begin to move on with their lives. Is
there any understanding yet? I mean, what do you know about the time frame then? What are you looking at, do you think?
Well, at the moment, it's still completely open-ended. My claim is just about finished being put together by my legal team and will be submitted to the post office very soon. I know people that were perhaps slightly ahead of me in the scheme have then, when their claim's been submitted, sometimes waited 6, 8, 10 months to even have a reply from the post office before they can begin to negotiate.
I mean, the report does call for legally binding timeframes for when redress should be delivered in order to stop these unacceptable delays. I mean, there's an acceptance here in this report that these delays are unacceptable, and it says, look, there needs to be something that's legally binding, which to stop this happening, so that timeframes have to be adhered to.
Yes, and we'd welcome that. I know when I was at the committee, Alan Bates was alongside me calling for there to be fines or penalties that would be due to the postmasters, because it's their lives or our lives that are being affected by these delays. Anything that speeds it up is welcome, because, as you said, 14 years ago, I was prosecuted. It's taken over a decade for myself and hundreds of others of us to clear our names, and yet it almost feels like we're still in litigation with the government and post office, trying to get any form of redress out of them.
What's been said this morning? I don't expect you to name any names. You can if you like, but this report has only been out 3/4 of an hour. You must have heard from other sub-postmasters this morning, I'm assuming. What are people saying?
The general feeling is that this is what we've been wanting. anyone involved in it felt it was wholly unfair that we had to deal with the post office again. They were the malice in all of this, and they're the organisation that denied us justice for over a decade, tried to fight Alan's case in the High Court, even though it's coming out in the inquiry that they were in a position where they knew they were wrong, but continued to deny it. That they need removing from it. It's not fair that we have to deal with these people, because we're all still sure that the attitude continues in the post office, that somehow we've managed to get away with something, or we're a bunch of crooks.
Appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on this morning. That was Timothy Brentnall, one of the many hundreds of former sub-postmasters involved in the post office.